Monday evening, and thank you so much for joining us tonight on Unscripted. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. Weather-wise, not a bad weekend and certainly not a bad start to the work week. A nice warm day today, but definitely not seeing any blue skies out there. That smoke from different wildfires in Canada still lingering across northern Michigan. Joe, can we expect that to hang on for the rest of the week, or when can we see it start to clear out a bit?
We'll see. We'll see how that goes. It just depends. You know, it's dictated by the fires up in Canada and then where the wind blows things around. But some smoke tonight through tomorrow, and perhaps even more mid to late week, another round coming in. So we do have that to deal with. We also do have some rain on the way in too. It's been dry the last few days. We'll give you the timing on that, when that rain arrives, maybe a few thunderstorms too, and a look at the entire week coming up a little later.
All right, thank you so much, Joe. Let's start off with our top story tonight. One of the largest community mental health organizations in the entire state is on track to spend more money than it currently has. Northern Lakes Administration is looking into some spending cuts, and as a result of that, one of its emergency mental health crisis services is being reduced. Our Allie Baxter looked into this and has all the details for you.
It's a resource that we use to help solve a problem if we're dealing with someone in crisis or families that are having issues that are repetitive.
That resource, a team of mental health professionals. They're employed by Northern Lakes, a community mental health authority that serves multiple northern Michigan counties. The members are known as the FAST team. They're on call 24/7 for children experiencing an emergency mental health crisis.
In cases where I've been involved with the FAST teams, the families didn't know about the FAST team, and so it was something new to them.
Brandon Brinks is the road patrol captain at the Grand Traverse Sheriff's Office. He says in the past, deputies were able to call the FAST team for help in specific situations.
I think that's a huge benefit versus having somebody there in uniform. Sometimes it doesn't always help de-escalate things. We do the best that we can.
But last week, Northern Lakes administrators sent local law enforcement a message, noting in an email administrators made what they call the tough decision to reduce FAST team services from 24/7 to Monday through Friday between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m.
Having that non-law enforcement entity come in, it was very comforting to the family to have those people coming in, and also they're professionals. That's what they do for a living, is deal with people in crisis and searching out those resources, providing counseling, doing that type of management work.
In that same email, administrators cite a policy for intensive crisis stabilization services by the state's health department. The policy says it's optional for crisis stabilization units like the FAST team to be 24/7. For law enforcement, administrators noted,
we can still reach out to the 24/7 crisis hotline to see if there's anyone that can help the family out through that. And otherwise, we can still refer people to families, kids. We can still refer them to the FAST team for follow-up the following day if it's after hours.
We reached out to Northern Lakes to clarify and ask if law enforcement called outside of the team's new hours, would there be no on-call members to come to the scene? Northern Lakes told us this was a loaded question.
So there are still resources available. We just might not get a team that comes directly to the scene to help us out.
That was our Allie Baxter reporting, and when we called Northern Lakes for comment, they told us only the interim CEO, Brian Martinez, is allowed to make a statement, but he is on military orders and is out of the office until mid-June. We were given the option to wait until next week when two people that Martinez designated to speak on his behalf would finally be available, but we decided to run the story today without a comment from them. We'll leave an update on a story that we have been following for several years now. It's been about 5 years since a barge sank on Grand Traverse Bay. And now that saga of Don Belcom's barge may finally be coming to some sort of an end. It has been moved several times since it first originally sank in the bay, and Mr. Belcom has also been in court several times since then, but he was in court again this morning and faced a hard deadline to get it moved. But as we've come to expect with this story, it may not quite be over just yet. Here is Mark Chalette with the very latest.
As of now, the barge still remains where it was. It has not been moved.
And for Don Balcom, the owner of the barge that first gained notoriety 5 years ago when it sank in the shallows of Grand Traverse Bay, not moving the barge is legally problematic.
Mr. Balcom pled guilty to one count of violating Michigan's Water Resources Protection Statute last year on June 27th. The court gave Mr. Balcom 12 months to move the barge, which is the condition that this case arose from.
11 months into that 12-month sentencing delay, and Balcom appeared back before Judge Hamlin with an update for the court.
We have a group of people from, I won't say where, they want to buy the barge, and they have 2 weeks to close the deal.
The clock is rapidly ticking to get something done. Only a couple of dozens of days left to get this either moved.
I'd like to have my life back. I have a beautiful wife and things that we want to do that this has been tearing us down.
Moved or sold.
I'm 90 years old, and I have a bad shoulders, I have a bad hip, and I have cancer, and I'm ready to sell it, yes.
It's a legal crossroads for Balcom and the barge. If it sells, the responsibility for moving it changes.
Clearly, if the vessel's been sold, he doesn't completely control that, but he does make a good faith representation that the vessel is likely to be moved by him through the letter that was provided to the court.
But Balcom is confident in closing the sale in the next 2 weeks and having the barge head out of the area.
I have money down on the barge, and they have 2 weeks to pay it off, the balance.
If the sale goes through, Balcom would face a lesser fine of roughly $500 for the initial oil discharge at the time of the sinking and a lesser charge in court.
The Attorney General did indicate that he would not necessarily oppose vacating sentence and allowing him to have the benefit of a misdemeanor to the extent that the vessel is moved in advance of the date of 6/27.
If the sale falls through and the barge remains in place come June 27th, the original felony charge stays in place and a fine of about $2,500, but no jail time recommended.
The courts and the judges have been fair on this very much, and we have tried to do everything they've asked us to do.
Tried, but this latest attempt may be the one with the most traction, a potential buyer with a plan to move it, while its current owner admits it's time to move on.
We love Traverse City and the people, and it's just something I'm sorry it happened.
And the saga of the barge that became so difficult to move, and its owner who found it so hard to move on from it, may be nearing its final chapter.
The only thing that I can say on behalf of Mr. Balcom is he is a 90-year-old man. This represents his life's work. It is unfortunate that it ends this way. It's time for him to move on.
And let's check in with reporter and anchor Mark Gillette, who did that story. He joins us live now for much more on this. So, Mark, we know that this has been a saga that's been going on for about 5 years now, as we've mentioned. Why has it been so difficult for this barge to be moved?
Well, boy, that is an onion, right? There are a lot of layers to that, but I think in its most recent placement, it was a matter of making repairs to the barge, which Mr. Balcom has done over the course of the last couple of years. Spent, according to him, a great deal of money to make it seaworthy again, so that the water wasn't going into the barge. And then it's actually coming up with a plan to move it from where it is, because right now it is sitting on the beach, it is sitting on the bottom. So it's not just a matter of like launching a rowboat where you're like, all right, let's get a little heave-ho and get it out floating. You will actually probably need to involve some heavy machinery to actually pull it out. And if you think about heavy machinery, you got to get a heavy machinery in the water that to like pull it out. So it is a major job just to get it seaworthy, and then get it floating, get it out into the water again. So I think that has been the big lynch point from a practical standpoint. There was also, I mean, I did today's story. You've covered this story. Reporters going back 5-6 years who are no longer even working in television have done this story. This story has been the story that we kind of hoped would end, but never seemed to end. This story has been going on a long time, but also this is a very important piece of Don Balcom's life. This was a tool that he used throughout his career, and he's been working on water for 72 years now. Wow. He helped Mackinac Bridge. He built the retaining wall at the Holiday Inn. He worked down in Muskegon, where he had his company down at that neck of Michigan. So this was not just a matter of him getting rid of the barge. This was, in a lot of ways, if you talk to him, this piece of machinery that he built, this barge that he crafted, was an important part of his life. And I think there were a lot of levels of that made it very difficult for him to say goodbye to it, because he thinks it's still a very worthwhile, valuable, useful tool, but it's also his past. So I think there's an emotional element to that as well. But he is ready to move on. He is ready to be done with this. The last 5 years have taken a toll on him, and
Sure.
he's ready to sell the barge.
And I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this, and maybe they have been following it for the past 5 years that we've been reporting on it, maybe this is the first time they're hearing of it, but they might have watched your story and thought, well, gosh, with all this time and money going into the barge, why wouldn't he have just sold it 5 years ago when this became an issue? But like you just said, it sounds like it's a kind of a sentimental piece to who he is.
My impression is it has this amount of value to Mr. Balcom from an emotional standpoint, and it probably has closer to this amount of value on the open market.
Yeah.
Look, it's a giant barge with an old crane on top of it. I don't have a use for it. You don't have a use for it. The people that would have a use for it may already have a barge with a crane on top of it, right? So there's not a huge market for older barges in Grand Traverse Bay that you're going to have to pay money to get off of the beach. So it may not be a super attractive kind of purchase thing. And we've been down this road before with Mr. Balcom of, hey, there may be a buyer interested. This, to me, and talking to him, feels like this one has the most traction, that this one has of all the ones that he has mentioned in the past, if there's been some interest, this one feels like it's going to move forward. I asked him today, how confident are you? He's like, pretty confident. I'm very confident. He's got a down payment. We will know a lot in the next 10 days, 14 days, as to if this is going to go through and be moved out of the area. It's not just a situation where he's going to move it to another piece of property or something like that. It's my understanding that it will go to the part of the state where these people want to use it, and they have a plan for it.
All right, Mark, in about 30 seconds, anything else that you want to mention that we haven't talked about yet with this update?
I think we're all ready for some closure. You know, I think even Mr. Balcom, I know the courts are, I know the state is, and they've given him this window. A year ago, they delayed the sentencing. I think a lot of people feel like it's time to close the book on this one way or the other, and I think Mr. Balcom would agree with that.
Yep, you can tell from your conversation with him that we saw in your story that it seems like he is finally ready to just put this behind him and live the rest of his life.
Yes.
All right, Mark, thank you so much for joining us and for diving a little deeper into that update. Of course, we will continue to keep you posted if that sale goes through or what happens next with the barge and Don Balcom. One more story to share with you before we take a quick break. The 31st annual Smart Commute Week kicked off in Traverse City today. Take a look. Dozens of smart commuters arrived at North Peak Brewing this morning for the first free breakfast of the week. Do we have video? Oh, okay, no video, so just kidding. Don't take a look. Just listen to what I'm saying. The purpose of Smart Commute Week is to, of course, encourage different sort of transportation alternatives to getting to work, such as biking, walking, carpooling, taking the bus. And individuals participate by walking, biking, and they also have a free breakfast every single day. And the whole family, there we go, a little late, but some families came out to enjoy that free breakfast as well this morning.
I think we all love it, so like having like that extra motivator for a full week to like really bond and then go out on our bikes in the morning and then just have some fun.
And the free breakfast will be served daily from 7 a.m. until 9 a.m. at various locations around Traverse City. You can head to our website for more information on that. But let's take a look at our question of the day before we take a quick pause. How do you travel to work most days? Scan the QR code on your screen right now, and if you miss a QR code, because we are about to take a break, you can just head over to our website, UpNorthLive.com, and find the story there and vote. As of right now, a majority of voters are saying they do indeed take their car, but we'll take a look at those results toward the end of the show. We are going to take that quick break right now, but Joel will have much more on the forecast for the rest of the work week coming up next.
I'm Jada Johnson from Big Boys TV, and the Fish and Game Report is sponsored by Johnson's Propane.
Well, despite the smoke in the sky, it's been a pretty nice day weather-wise. Some nice warmer temperatures. And Joe, is that going to be the trend for the rest of the work week?
You know, I think our warmest day, it was warm today in spots, but I think tomorrow will be the warmest day. And then we have a front coming in that's going to bring some rain and then a little cooler weather for one day. And it's not going to be cold, but, you know, maybe into the upper 60s on Wednesday, and then we're right back into the 70s again.
Nice.
The other story, of course, is wildfire smoke. I think we're going to talk a lot about that just over the course of the summer based on how things are already going. But if you look at our 4 camera sites here, Drummond Island, live look there, Mackinac City, the bridge, Gaylord, Traverse City, especially the bottom 2 cameras, it looks like it's really cloudy and gray out, but that is all smoke. That's the effect of that. So wildfire smoke overhead, you lose that beautiful blue sky, you get the smoke, and that's what it looks like out there this evening. We'll start with that. Here is a look at some of the smoke across the region. The bright white you see out by Minnesota, that's all clouds. But closer to home, there's some of the smoke drifting through across northern Michigan. And I'm going to jump up into central Canada here. And you can kind of tell there's some clouds mixed in with this. It's a satellite image. There's a lot of smoke. I kind of penciled some of these fires in. That one on the bottom left in particular is throwing off an enormous amount of smoke. Up there in parts of central Canada, a very rural area. It takes, you know, it's such rural spots, it's hard to put these fires out. It requires helicopters and things of that nature. And there's the source for a lot of that smoke way up there, kind of circled in that box. So here's what we expect with regard to the smoke for our area. Some of that will hang on here tonight through tomorrow. You see northern Michigan there. Maybe a little bit of a break tomorrow night, but then look at this big plume of smoke to the west of us that may drift in Wednesday into Thursday. So that's something we're keeping an eye on. Also, we have a front off to the west that's kicking off some thunderstorms tonight. In fact, in central Minnesota, take a look here around Minneapolis, just getting into the Twin Cities, some severe weather out there. I don't know if we're going to see much severe weather here. I don't think so. But that same frontal boundary will arrive not tonight. And most of tomorrow, we avoid the rain. But there's tomorrow night. And you see some showers, a few thunderstorms coming in into Wednesday morning, right there, the afternoon, before that starts to taper off. Some spots might see up to an inch of rain out of this. Again, that's tomorrow night into Wednesday. And here's a look at our extended forecast. Overall, not a bad week. Now, we may cool down a little bit after the warm day tomorrow, but then we stay in the 70s pretty much the rest of the week. And overall, not a bad week. You know, we're into the first week here of June, and we'll keep an eye on that smoke overhead too. And I think that'll drift through at times this week, Maya.
All right, thank you so much, Joe. We're going to take another quick break, but don't go anywhere just yet. We'll get you caught up in all the sports action across northern Michigan with our sports director straight ahead. It was a busy weekend for track and field athletes as they competed in some championships over the weekend. For more on that, let's turn things over to sports director Harrison Beebe. Hey, Harrison, are they called championships?
The track and field state finals.
There we go. As soon as it came out of my mouth, I was like, that's not the right
They competed for championship. They are each champions if they win titles.
Yep.
And we'll start with our friends in the Upper Peninsula. Some domination in Division II and Division III. They give away 6 titles for boys and girls in D1 through D3 in the Upper Peninsula, and we had 4 of our 6 area champions from the Eastern Upper Peninsula in our viewing area, and that would be Pickford boys and girls and Newberry boys and girls. Newberry boys winning 2 in a row, and the Pickford boys winning 3 in a row. So they kind of have a clamp on those divisional races. There you see some pictures that we had that we were able to obtain from the finals up in Kingsford for that event in the UP. But we want to show some individual winners as well, because that's a big part of track and field. You know, you can't send your whole team, unfortunately, so the team state champs are based on your individual success. But Gunnar Benin of Pickford won the 400, and he was on the 4x200 meter team. Talia Schreiber for the girls in Pickford won the 800, 1600, 3200, and the 4x8 relay. So 4 titles for her alone. Matthew Rahili, the high jump and long jump for Newberry. Samantha Taylor won the 1600 and 3200, and her sister, Abby Taylor, won the 800. And I believe we have one more graphic. Yep, there we go. Lorelei Zielinski, Traverse City Central, Division I, first Trojan to win 2 state titles in the same season. She won in shot put and discus. She's only a sophomore, so she's going to be around to defend those titles in a few years. August Road of Reed City won the 800 and the 800 and the 1600 meter races. And the Frankfurt girls, who we're catching up with later tonight, I believe we're going to feature them in the Jimmy John Sports Corner. There's 4 of them that won the 4x1 and 4x2 relay races at the Division IV girls finals. Want to put the spotlight on them for winning 2 relay titles there. So busy day, busy Saturday for state finals. And Maya, if you missed any of those names or you want to see who else won, because there were a lot more winners from our area, we can't recognize everybody in a short amount of time. Full list is on our website, UpNorthLive.com.
All right, thank you so much, Harrison, and congrats to all of you winners out there. We're going to take our last break, but we'll check in with the question of the day, the live results, and some of your comments coming up next.
Salon services are furnished by Epiphany Advanced Academy in East Acme.
Today was the first day of Smart Commute Week in Traverse City, a week dedicated to promoting different forms of transportation. So our question today is, how do you travel to work? Yep, a lot of people taking the car, A lot of people are saying other, and I have a feeling they might mean they work from home, because we do have a comment on Facebook from William who says no option for work from home. I guess technically it's a walk from bed to desk. Other people are saying they travel very slowly around their area. You can read more comments. A lot of them are actually kind of funny over on our Facebook page. And you can still scan the QR code on your screen right now to vote on our question of the day. But that will do it for Unscripted tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, we hope to see you back here at 11 o'clock for Up North Live News at 11. Take care.